I think just more of sense what guys felt this year as far as how we performed as a team and how they performed as individuals. And then to give them some feedback on things that they have to improve on or work on this summer to get better as basketball players. And then after that process was done, basically I kind of left the room and Mitch talked more business with them. So we talked together with them as far as the basketball part, and then he talked to them from a business standpoint.
Byron, you said yesterday you would wake up today and not be relieved necessarily, but ready to turn the page, I guess. Is that indeed the case? Are you able to just drop what happened the last, 5 or 6 months and move on?
No, I don't think you can ever just drop it. I mean, as much as you might want to or try to, there's going to be parts of the seasons that's going to always leave a bad taste in your mouth, if you are a competitor, but at the end of the day, there's nothing that we can do about what happened this season as far as basketball is concerned. It's already written and it's done with. And in that sense, you do have to try to move forward. And, like I said, we feel we have a bright future. We have a lot of room to improve as a basketball team. But we have a lot of money under the cap. We have some picks, that we can work with, and obviously, come July 1st, you have the free agent market. So, we feel we're in a good place right now. After last night's game, I don't think anybody woke up thinking that, let's just move forward. I don't think you can put it in the past that quickly.
Byron, of all the needs this team needs to address, what's at the top?
I think at the top is May 19th. That's the top. I mean, that's the next available date where we find out, what pick we're going to have, and then we obviously we'll know where we're picking in the later part of the first round, and then we know what we have in the second round. So that's the only thing that's on the agenda right now.
When you look at what you think you're going to have coming back, and then all the holes you need to plug, is there an area of priority that you would want to target first by position or veteran players or anything like that?
No, I think it's still a mixture of a lot of things, and I don't think, right now I'm looking at one specific thing. Again, Mitch and I and Jim will sit down and talk tomorrow, and we'll start discussing the players that we have on this team right now, and start going through that first, and then we'll, again start, strategizing about the draft and things like that. But like I said, as of right now, it's just basically to come today and, talk to our guys that we have and, tell them the things that they need to do to get better as basketball players, and wait till tomorrow and talk, and then we'll go from there.
You and Mitch talked about timeline in the sense of how quickly you want to have this thing turned around. Because earlier this year, Mitch talked about not wanting to spend money just to spend money and become an 8th seed or to get to 500 and then exhaust your resources.
No, we haven't. But as a coach, you want it to turn around as quick as possible. But I also know that, when I first sat down with Mitch and Jim, the plan that they had given me, it wasn't going to be something that was just going to happen overnight. So I'm patient. Like I said, as long as they're patient, I'm patient. But I think we all want to see progress. That's the biggest thing. We want to see progress from this year to the following year, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Do you sense that from Mitch?
What, progress?
No, yeah, and as long as they're feeling patient,
Yeah, I sense that. And talked to Jimmy the other day briefly as well. I sense that. So, I think we're all on the same page. And we all know and understand how tough this season was for all of us. But we're all, like I said, once we get in the trenches and get talking about next year and the draft and all the other things that we have to deal with, I think we'll all be excited.
You talked last night about the positive, definitely being Jordan Clarkson and seeing his potential and what he can do. Do you get the sense that Mitch and Jim, they have that same enthusiasm about this young guy?
Yeah, I do. Like I said, Mitch and I sat down with the guys, and he was very excited and very pleased with the way Jordan played. And Jordan's not the only one. He kind of stands out because he did have such a great rookie year when he got his opportunity. But Tarek, did a hell of a job. Ed Davis, played extremely well this season. So, we're not trying to forget anybody, but, we have some pieces, and Ed is 25 years old. So we have some young guys that did themselves very proud this season that we're very proud of, and we have some pieces that we can continue to add to the puzzle.
Some of these decisions are out of your hands, but there's a possibility where the team could come and have a really young core next year that could grow together. You might parlay some of those pieces. Do you have a type of team, just from your own personal experience, that you would like to have next year, whether it's youth or mix or more veterans, all that kind of stuff?
I like a mixture. I like having, young guys who are hungry and passionate about the game, and you like having some veterans who have the know-how and the experience. So yeah, I like a mixture. I don't think we want to have 14 guys and 10 of them are all 22 and younger. I think we want to have some experience out there. So if we can have a nice little mixture, I think that would be something that I would love to have.
How much experience do you need to be able to, have on the roster, be able to have, to kind of guide the younger players in the right way in terms of setting examples and things like that? How much of a balance? How much does the younger?
You mean like player-wise? How many? If you need like 3 or 4 players, something like that?
How much does that matter to have older guys who can really set models and stuff for
It helps big time. It matters a lot. I think it helps their growth. It helps speed up the process for those guys to learn. When you have guys that are not only telling them what they should be doing, but also showing them, it has an effect on guys. So, having Kobe healthy, you can have him, you knock on wood that he's healthy next year for the whole year. That's a big time plus for our young guys, because now they're learning from one of the best. So if you can have a couple of more veteran type guys out there, it's always an advantage.
Where is Kobe at this point, from your understanding, in terms of his recovery, and what he may be or may not be able to do this summer?
Right now, in our conversation 2 days ago, he was doing his rehab, was just starting to lift weights. He's kind of going back to old school thought process. But he told me he felt great, he looked good, and he wanted to kind of speed up the process. Me, trying to say, well, don't speed it up too much, just kind of relax a little bit. But he said he was just kind of going back to his old way of working out, and getting ready. And the first order of business was to get the base, back strong, And he's doing all the rehab with the shoulder, and he has range of motion right now that's really good. So when I saw him the other day and talked to him, he like I said, he looked good. He said he felt great. So I don't know if that means he's ahead of schedule or what, but right now in his mind, he's going to go at this thing real hard this summer to get ready for training camp.
What concerns, question marks do you have about him?
The only question mark I had, was that, I didn't want him to overdo it. That's my biggest thing with him, because I know how he is when he gets his mindset, that he wants to be ready for training camp. He's going to go all out, and I don't want him to overdo it. We also talked about minutes, and I told him that's something that we'll talk about as far as before training camp starts. And if he happens to come back and ready for training camp and all that good stuff, then I got to really be careful with him at training camp as well.
What do you think he's learned handling that this season?
Learn from Kobe?
Yeah.
Or handling the minutes and everything?
Yeah.
Got to stick to the guns. Like when I cut it down to those 32 minutes, stuck to that pretty well. And like I said, he had a minute. I wouldn't say restriction, but he had minutes on his mind that he felt he could handle. And like I said, at earlier part of the season, I felt he could handle a little bit more, and I thought he was right. So obviously when we talk going into training camp and into next season, I'll ask him again, what does he think minute-wise? And I think this time I'm going to take his word for it instead of go with my own gut, because he was absolutely right. But that's something that we're going to be talking about 6 months from now.
Is that maybe a regret that maybe you played him too many minutes?
Yeah, I don't know if that had anything to do with the injury, because I think that was probably there a little while ago. But Yeah, I mean, anybody in my position, when you got a guy as good as he is, as great as he is as a basketball player, and they break down some point in time during the season, yeah, you're going to regret playing them more minutes than you thought you probably should have, of course.
Was day one when you took this job before you had season-ending injury, after season-ending injury, and it just continued all the way up to the end? What was your expectation on that day in terms of where you guys would be coming?
Expectation realistically was that I didn't think we would be a playoff team, but I thought we would be pretty close. You know, I didn't see, like you said, the type of injuries that we occurred during the season and even before the season even started. But, you know, sometimes in this league, you know, you get thrown a curveball and you got to deal with it. And that's what we tried to do. The guys never quit. You know, it was never lack of effort. It was more lack of talent than anything. But, you know, they came in and they gave me everything they had every single night, and I have to, you know, commend them for that. And I was very proud of them for that.
Really getting to spend however many days talking to a bunch of guys about what they need to do and what work on the summer and improve on. When you look at it yourself, you know, in terms of what you've done coaching, what are those things that you look at and say, you know, going into next year, I want to adjust this, grow here, whatever it might be?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to make adjustments on both ends of the floor as well. You know, and a lot of that's going to depend on who we have back. It depends on the personnel that we have. You know, so we might change some of my philosophies. I might change on the offensive end as well as the defensive end. But it's all going to be basically personnel driven. You know, so I got to wait until, you know, August, September, when we know what our roster looks like, and then I got to get to work on, you know, formulating a plan on both ends of the floor to make us successful.
Is it hard to self-evaluate when so many things are changing on the roster?
No, not really. You know, I think I did okay. I don't think I did great. You know, I think I could do better. You know, when I get to the point when I can stand here and tell you guys I did the best job I could possibly do, then I think it's time for me to retire. I can still grow as a basketball coach, and that's my intentions every day, to get better.
What areas do you think come to mind?
For me,
Yeah.
like I just said, both ends, Mark, to be honest with you. Both ends. You know, we can get better at both ends. I can get better on both ends as well. You know, so, you know, I don't look at the players and say, well, you didn't have this, you didn't have that. You know, that's, you know, every coach could do that unless you win the championship.
Is that more of an X's and O's thing, or how you handle
Both.
combinations?
X's and O's, combinations, how you handle personnel. It's a little bit of everything. I try to self-evaluate everything, not just one or two things.
You said earlier in the season that you didn't want the team shooting more 13, 14, 15 threes a game. And that teams that shoot threes don't necessarily win titles. Did your philosophy change throughout the season, and looking ahead, is it still kind of that mindset?
No, I'm still old school as far as, you know, you don't have to shoot a ton of threes. I mean, you can shoot a ton of them and win a bunch of games in the regular season. I still don't necessarily think it's going to help you win a championship. I think you have to have a little bit more of a balance. You know, you can shoot threes, but you got to have some type of post-up present. It could be a forward, it could be a center, it doesn't matter what it is, but you got to have somebody that sometimes that can demand a double team. You know, and that's just kind of the way I feel about it. And again, like I said, a lot of that is personnel driven.
Byron, was there a point of the season when Clarkson to you went from, you know, a talented guy that liked him as a steal in the draft to now being considered as a potential real piece for the future of this team?
A point in the season, I would say yes, Mike. When that point was, I can't recall, but yeah, there was a point in the season where we looked at him and said, you know what, this kid can play, and he'll get better if he continues to work and continues to keep that hunger. You know, so yeah, we got a nice little piece here. Definitely, I think we got to that point. I don't know exactly when that was. I don't know if it was March, April, February. I don't know when it was, but we definitely got to that point.
Where do you want him to grow most?
Every area. You know, I don't want to put limitations on him. I want him to grow in every area. When I talked to him today, it was, you know, getting better as a point guard, but also being able to do things that off guard does, you know, on both ends of the floor, getting better on the defensive end, on the ball and off the ball. So I didn't give him limitations on just working on a couple of things. It was working on his overall basketball game on both ends of the floor.
For the future of Kobe positionally, is there a difference at small forward or shooting guard as far as saving his legs, or is there an easier position for his body?
Probably the easiest position might be small forward.
Could you see him working into that?
Oh, definitely.
Longer?
Definitely.
Maybe the priority, maybe you would slot him in next year as the small forward and another guard?
I'm gonna slot him in right now as a 2 guard, shooting guard. But again, depending on what we do in the draft and the free agent market, we both know he can play either position. That's not a problem. He can play the point as well. Okay, just so you know.
Any power forward center?
Nah, not power forward, maybe.
Is he gonna play summer league?
No, he's not gonna play summer. We're gonna rest him a little bit.
Brian, going back to mentioning the lottery, Nate, do you have a general sense of like the scenarios of you guys stay in the top 5 and have to lose that pick, what the next step would be?
Mark, I forgot. I didn't hear the first part of that question.
Oh, just circling back, you mentioned about the May 19th.
Mhm,
lottery. Do you have
mhm.
a general sense of like the 2 different scenarios, how you guys will tackle the keeping the top 5 pick, what
We-
needs, and then?
No, because Mitch and I and Jim haven't sat down and talked about it yet. Our first meeting is tomorrow, guys. So there are obviously a lot of issues and things that we'll talk about.
Who do you want to send to go? Because like, if you come back without a pick, somebody's gonna be in trouble.
Well, that's okay. I mean, they asked me to go, so I don't know if I want to go now. I don't, send John Black, maybe.
I'll be behind, I'll be the back.
Is there any part of you that, I mean, we asked earlier, after you guys beat the 76ers twice, about that coming back maybe to haunt you, get how things go. Any part of you a little nervous heading to that?
No.
Have you even entertained the thought of what would happen, or if, the pick falls out of the top 5?
No.
Thinking optimistically?
I said, you guys know me. Glass is half full.
What was it? You guys got the top pick when you were in Cleveland, right? You jumped. That happened
Mm-hmm.
when you were there. What was the secret? What was the trick? The karma? Sorry, it's not here, so
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what the trick was.
Isn't it Gilbert's son?
Yeah.
Can you hire him?
Can we hire Nick and send him up there? I don't know, John. Can we hire him and?
Any like little nephews or anything?
No, maybe I'll go and just take my granddaughters. That's my good luck.
It's a lot of pressure for her. Then, get it.
She won't have a clue what's going on and won't even care. So, no pressure at all.
You guys good?
All right, guys. Thank you.